السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Hi, my name is Ahmed and I'm back with another episode of Quran in English where I read through the Quran and discuss my understanding. The purpose of this channel is for me to learn about the Quran, and I find that the best way of learning is trying to explain what I know and what I understand and see what I'm reading. For a lot of the Quran, this is the first time that I'm reading it, but for this specific chapter, I have read it before. And the chapter that we are on is Al-Shu'ara, the poets. Fun fact is that when I read the name in English, I'm like, Shu'ara. I'm like, is this Shu'ara? Shu'ara? And I spent like a while and I was finding YouTube videos how they pronounce it instead of just looking at the Arabic and reading it. Sometimes you forget you can read Arabic. Al-Shu'ara. The Poets, which is an interesting chapter with a lot of story time. And I think we're going to get a lot of stories over the next couple of chapters. We're going to touch on some controversial topics, but not today. Let's get into it. As usual, we always begin with أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, and off we go. Ta, Sin, Mim. The fact that it's written S-E-E-M, Seem, is crazy to me because the letter is Sin with an N, not with an M. So I don't know who wrote this. Tasim Mim. It sounds maybe Tasim Mim. It sounds like the M, and because there's an M that comes after it, it probably sounds like it. But the letter is Sin, and we are saying them three letters that are separate, even though they are one word. And if you're new to this channel or new to the Quran, then you wouldn't know that there are some chapters that begin with 3, 4, and I think there's 5 letters on some of them, but we don't fully know what they mean. People have been discussing it for a long time to figure out what it means. There seems to be certain connections that they make, and whenever these letters come out, it usually refers to the book right after it, and the verse of the book. And thus the next verse goes, تِلْكَ آيَاتُ الْكِتَابِ الْمُبِينِ. Those are the verses of the book that is clear, the clear book. Which also, the point that my dear friend Mohab once highlighted is that the book isn't clear, and in a lot of ways it isn't. But maybe it will be made clear. Some parts of it are super clear. Some parts of it need a bit more contemplation and reflection. Again, the book of the Quran, the words of the Quran are timeless. Therefore, all of time, since it has been revealed to the Prophet 1,450-ish years ago. And so, it can't be super clear if it's super applicable to all times. Static words applicable to dynamic time is always going to be having some level of unclarity, but some levels of clarity as well. لعلك باخع نفسك ألا يكونوا مؤمنين. Perhaps you are killing yourself, you're beating yourself up, that they do not become believers. Now this is obviously understood to apply to the Prophet, and as this was revealed to him. But like I always said, the Quran feels like it would guide messengers that were to come after the Prophet. He's the last prophet, not the last messenger. Not going to get into it every time. And I personally can relate to this statement. Killing yourself that they do not become believers. And it's one of the hard lessons that I've had to learn, is that people have free will, and some people will use that free will to not believe. And some of the people that you love and some people that you call friends, that you call family, will not believe. It's just their choice, And it's a very hard lesson to learn. إن نشأ ننزل عليهم من السماء آية فظلت أعناقهم لها خاضعين. If we wanted, if we willed, we would have sent down to them from the sky a sign. Now it's the same word, ayah, that we had over here, ayat. Here it can mean verse, here it can mean sign. And the verses are supposed to be signs in and of themselves, so that's why it's kind of the same. Something that is made clear. But we could have sent something down from the sky. So this is not talking about verses, but it could be. But I would imagine it's not, because it says, so they would bend their necks to it in humility. AKA, if God and the agents at God's disposal, the angels, the spirit, everything, wanted to send down a sign, everybody would believe, everybody would see it, and they would bow down their heads immediately and be in utter submission. But that's not the world that we're living in. The world that we're living in is not designed in a way that it is obvious. The world we're living in is a world where we have our own willpower to contend with, our own desires to fight against, and our challenge is to find belief, even though there isn't technical evidence for it, something that you can touch, hear, see, or feel. وما يأتيهم من ذكر من الرحمن محدث إلا كانوا عنه معرضين. And it had never come to them any reminder or mention of the Most Gracious, which is one of the names of God, that is new. Whenever a new reminder comes to them from the muhaddathin, except that they were from it turning away. So whenever the conjecture is, if a sign had come from the heavens, they would believe. But there are many things that also help us believe, such as reminders of God, verses, compassion. Like there have been many prophets and messengers over the time that have shared wisdom and lessons and messages from God, and that is a way to find belief, and that is a way to find God. However, all the disbelievers, whenever they hear them, they go, this is nonsense. This is not something that we want. فقد كذبوا فسيأتيهم أنباء ما كانوا به يستهزئون. But then they denied it all. They denied everything that came to their ways. Then surely it will come to them the news about what they used to ridicule and mock. Yeah, you guys used to make fun of it. Well, the truth is coming. And you will find out in time. أولم يروا إلى الأرض كم أنبتنا فيها من كل زوج كريم. Do they not see in the earth how we have produced in it from every pair noble? So here it's not saying pair, it's saying every kind. من كل زوج كريم. زوج, I do imagine, is the word pair. But how many types? It is talking about, and batna is caused to grow. So plants does come to mind. Produced isn't enough to describe and batna. And it's just talking about, I do understand that there's every kind, but I also want to say that there's every pair. And I feel like when it comes to plants, there's also sexes, male and female, but I don't know if that applies to all plants and all vegetations. I'm not sure actually, but yeah, it's interesting how it says, "Do they not see in the earth?" For some reason here, have they failed to look? Have they failed to look at the earth? And then to see is in between brackets as if it's not being said, but that's they see. Do they not see is the right word. It's just this translation is just wild. But do they not see in the earth how we have spread about it every kind that is noble? Which is very interesting. And I think maybe we take this for granted because we have a lot of education available to us. We grew up with science, math. We grew up with, the study of the world. And for us, we've learned all about the world and all about the wonderful different types of things within it. And it's like normal to us. But this also would have been groundbreaking 1,450 years ago. And it kind of came to like the Middle East. People didn't have the internet. People didn't have traveled all over the world. They hadn't even seen all the wonders that the world has to offer. So really this is a verse ahead of its time, so to speak. It speaks to worldly knowledge, which is very interesting. But also the critique could be like, oh, you're saying that you're creating every kind, so who knows. إن في ذلك لآية وما كان أكثرهم مؤمنين. And that is surely a sign. There's that word again. But most of them are not believers. They are not believers. وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الرَّحِيمُ. And indeed, your Lord is surely the Almighty and most merciful. There's something beautiful about this expression. وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الرَّحِيمُ. I don't know, I just have a sense of reverence when I hear this. I'm getting a call, but actually, I'm getting a call from Safa. So let me tell her that I'm recording on YouTube. So then maybe she can join the YouTube. Hey. Okay, and this chapter is full of, and it's mostly stories. And so, what story do we begin with in the Quran? The most story that we hear about, the prophet that we hear about the most, that's mentioned the most in the Quran, is Moses. So why not start story time with him? وَإِذْ نَادَى رَبُّكَ مُوسَى أَنِ Okay, I'm just going to hear it.
وَإِذْ نَادَى رَبُّكَ مُوسَى أَنِ ائْتِ الْقَوْمَ
وَإِذْ نَادَى رَبُّكَ مُوسَى أَنِ ائْتِ الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And when God called Moses that you should go to the people that are wrongdoers. Yeah, interesting. So God said to Moses, go to the wrongdoing people, which we know are the Pharaoh and his people. قَوْمَ فِرْعَوْنَ أَلَّا يَتَّقُونَ. The people of Pharaoh, will they not be mindful? Taqwa is not fear, it's mindful. You do this to like a fire or a flame. You're not afraid of the fire, but you have to be careful around it, right? You have to watch out for it. You have to keep it in mind, because if you don't, you can get hurt. That's taqwa. It's not the same as khawf. Khawf is fear, is a different word. قَالَ رَبِّي إِنِّي أَخَافُ أَن يُكَذِّبُونِ. He said, my Lord, so Moses said, my Lord, I am afraid that they will deny me, which is a very valid fear. Oh, there's the word, fear, akhaf. This is fear, not taqwa. I'm afraid that they will deny me, which is a very valid fear, because that's exactly what the pharaohs do. وَيَضِيقُ صَدْرِي وَلَا يَنْطَلِقُ لِسَانِي فَأَرْسِلْ إِلَيَّ هَارُونَ. And my chest tightens, and my tongue doesn't express, so send with me Aaron, my brother. Okay, this is drama. So send with me my brother Aaron, because I'm worried that my chest will tighten and my tongue will not speak. Which is kind of interesting to see how human the prophets and messengers are, and that they need guidance and they need help, and they have their own fears and they have their own concerns. Sometimes we idolize them, and we have to just understand that they're people just like us. وَلَهُمْ عَلَيَّ ذَنْبٌ فَأَخَافُ أَنْ يَقْتُلُونِ. There's always a verse at the end, يَقْتُلُونِ, which is the way that it's supposed to be said, but usually when you end the word, you're not supposed to say it. So, yeah. And they have against me a crime, a sin, so I'm afraid that they will kill me. So they have a charge against me. What is the charge against Moses? We haven't read this yet because it comes in chapter 28, but the charge is he killed an Egyptian. He was also Egyptian, and he killed an Egyptian by mistake before prophethood. I believe the story is that they had a fight, and he killed him in that fight. But this was before he had the prophethood, before he had God. He had kind of some sort of faith, but then he also had to leave. I want to say it's Cairo, because that's where the pyramids are. Leave Egypt. Let's just simplify it. It wouldn't have been the city of Cairo as we know it. It would have been Egypt. He had to leave Egypt because he had killed one of theirs, and he was running to flee his life, and then he goes and lives another life. But we'll get to that story at a later date. all you need to know is that he killed someone and the Pharaoh has a charge against him. قال كلا فاذهبا بآياتنا إنا معكم مستمعون. Yeah, so he said, I'm afraid of going, my chest will tighten, my tongue won't roll, and, they have a charge against me, so I'm afraid they'll kill me. And God says, no, they're not going to kill you. So go with our signs. Indeed, we are with you, listening, which is very interesting. I believe... No, I'm not going to say. I was going to say Moses was the only one that spoke to God. I think others have spoken to God. And God has spoken back. I mean, we all can speak to God. Whether God speaks back is a different story. But I do know that God speaks to Moses. And in this case, he's saying he was also listening to Moses. But we also know that God's listening at all points and times. So it's kind of just what Moses didn't know then is what we know now. We know now all about God and how he works. Moses didn't know this. So God is reassuring Moses, saying, hey, we're listening. We're with you, essentially, is what he's saying. And he's saying that you're not going to die. فأتيا فرعون فقولا إنا رسول رب العالمين.
فأتيا.
Yeah, I got it right. So go to Pharaoh and say, we are the messenger, Lord of the worlds. It's interesting that it's using the singular for messenger. It's not saying the plural. Inna rusul is the plural. Inna rasul is... Yeah, inna is we are. Rasul is messenger. So in this case, are they both considered one? I don't know. It's just very peculiar that it is a plural... we, mish, not ana. Ana is the singular me. Inna is... Inni is the... because if you want to say it the same way. Inni is the singular we. Inna is the plural we. Rasulu is the singular Rasul. Rusul is plural. So it's very strange that we are the messenger, Lord of the worlds. Yeah, so here they've translated it to messengers rather than we are the messenger. It's just peculiar. I don't know why it's written that way. And أرسل معنا بني إسرائيل. What is the story of Moses? Is that he had to save the Israelites from the Pharaoh. So they said that you should send with us the children of Israel. I like how it translates it to the children of Israel. I think Beni just means like the people of Israel. But I think it uses the translation of children of Israel because that's often how they're referred to in the Bible and the Torah, I believe. But like Beni Rabia would be like the people of Rabia. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm not going to tell you who those people are, but those people are people. Ignore me. Ignore me. GDPR, we can't. It's fine. قال ألم ربك فينا وليدا ولبثت فينا من عمرك سنين. They said, the Pharaoh and his people, the Pharaoh specifically said, did we not raise you as one of ours? Because they did raise Moses. And in fact, I think it was the time of Moses where they were like they were killing all the males because there was a prophecy that one of the children, the boys of Israel, one of the boys of Egypt was going to kill the Pharaoh. And so the Pharaoh was killing everyone, but Moses' sister put him in the river, and then eventually Pharaoh's wife found him in the river, and they ended up adopting him and raising him as their own. So that's his upbringing story, and we've covered that in previous chapters. So we did raise you as a child, and you remained with us until in your life for many years, for several years in our care. So we took care of the Pharaoh, saying, "Did we take care of you? Why are you coming here to take away my people that belong to me, is what the Pharaoh is saying. وفعلت فعلتك التي فعلت وأنت من الكافرين. And you did your deed that you did, which was kill the man, and indeed you are من الكافرين. Interesting word to be used. Now they're translating الكافرين as ungrateful. The way that I know the word kafirin, the way that we use it in modern day today, kafir is somebody who doesn't believe, which is somebody who's ungrateful to God, right? It applies. Denying the virtues that have been put upon you makes you a kafir. So in this case, Pharaoh is accusing Moses of denying the virtues that Pharaoh has placed upon him. And when we use it in an Islamic context, we say that you're denying the virtues that God has placed upon you. Now, virtues isn't the right word, the blessings. And this is a wonderful little footnote. See previous footnote. I was just reading this because it just means that you killed the guy, but they just didn't want to repeat it again. And I'm like, so why put a footnote if you're not going to footnote anything? It's just very silly. قال فعلتها إذن وأنا من الضالين. Moses says, yep, I did it, and I am وأنا من الضالين, and I was lost, or I was misguided. I did it. It doesn't, yeah, I did it is at the past. This part, وأنا من الضالين, is phrased in the present. Here they're saying, I did it then lacking guidance, indicating that I was then lacking guidance and I was then led astray. But the way that I read it is that he was saying, I did it and I am misguided. I know that he is being guided by God, but I don't know if the tense makes a difference. But it's just very interesting to me. For me, it's وَأَنَا مِنَ الضَّالِّينَ means I am one of the ones who are lost or who are misguided. But I guess for sensical reasons, they said it about the past. But I don't know. If I was to own up to something, I wouldn't say I was confused, but now I'm not. I would say, I would say I was confused. I don't know. Let's not get too stuck up on it. ففررت منكم لما خفتكم فوهب لي ربي حكما وجعلني من المرسلين. So now it's the plural for messengers, which is interesting. So I fled from you when I feared you, and then God granted me wisdom, judgment, and he made me from the messengers. So I ran from you. I did wrong. I was led astray. I ran from you, and then God gave me wisdom or judgment. Depends on how you want to look at it. And he made me one of the messengers. وتلك نعمة تمنها علي أن عبدت بني إسرائيل. And this favor which you reproach me is that you enslave the children of Israel. When I read this the first time, it didn't make sense. Here they've added so many words. How can that be a favor of which you remind me? Okay, the word favor is in there, so I don't know why they're putting it in between quotes. How could it be a favor of what you remind me? When, and then they added, it was only because you have, they've added, enslaved the children of Israel. But for me, it makes sense if you split it in two. وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمُنُّهَا عَلَيَّ, and that is a favor which you have bestowed upon me. أَنْ عَبَدْتَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل, that you have enslaved the children of Israel. Yeah, I still don't get it. I'm trying. Like, if you add all these extra words, sure, but I feel like we're missing something. Yeah. قال فرعون وما رب العالمين. And Pharaoh said, and what is the Lord of the world? What is God of the world? Who is this God you speak of? قال رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إن كنتم موقنين. Moses replied, He is the God, the Lord, the God of the heavens and the earth and whatever is in between them. If you are... Here it says if you're convinced, and if here they translate it to if only you surely had faith. In kuntum muqinin. No, certainty is correct. In kuntum muqinin. If you were certain. If you really know, then you would know that it's God, the Lord of the heavens and the earth. I feel. Hey, somebody follow me on Twitch. السلام عليكم وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. FN Frumi, nice to join my channel. Welcome. Here. قال لمن حوله ألا تستمعون. تستمعون. He said to those around him. The Pharaoh said to those around him, Do you hear him? Do you hear what this guy's saying? He continued. Moses continues. قال ربكم ورب آبائكم الأولين. قال ربكم ورب آبائكم الأولين. He said, Your Lord and the Lord of the forefathers, your forefathers. Oh, so Moses continued saying, He's not only my God, He's your God, and He's the God of your forefathers. Sorry, I don't speak much Arabic, but I want to learn because I'm becoming Muslim. Oh, welcome to my channel. Well, then this should be fantastic. I highly recommend you check out my YouTube channel because I have all of the Quran from start till here on my YouTube channel. Same name as my Twitch, Preach Araba. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions. I will happily explain as much as I can. But yeah, you have like hundreds of videos from, I think it's hundreds of videos. I don't know how many videos. It's a lot. No, probably like 60 or 70 videos, I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, Moses said, not only is he God of the world, he's your God and your forefathers, the ones that came before you. So Pharaoh responds, saying, قال إن رسولكم الذي أرسل إليكم لمجنون. Pharaoh said, look, it seems that the messenger that has been sent to you is crazy. Thanks, good. Sounds good. Thank you so much. I went to the mosque yesterday to my first prayer with people. Oh, that's so beautiful. It's nice. Doing it with a community is really, really nice because it makes you feel connected. It makes you feel empowered. It makes you feel supported. And yeah, praying together is a very beautiful thing. So I'm very happy to hear that. Well done on making your journey. I would love to talk to you some more. I will have to finish this episode first, but feel free to drop comments and I will respond. But then I would also love to hear your story afterwards, if you don't mind. So Pharaoh said, This messenger that has come for you is crazy. Which, let's be real, every single messenger that's going to come is going to be called crazy. The Prophet Muhammad was called crazy. Jesus was called... I imagine Jesus was called crazy. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously he was crucified. So like some level of disrespect was intended. But generally messengers are considered insane. قال رب المشرق والمغرب وما بينهما إن كنتم تعقلون. Moses continues, not responds. I think he continues because he's ignoring him. He's called him crazy, but he continues saying, the God of the east and the west and whatever's in between them, if you were using reason. If you had, and you see this in the Quran quite a lot. There's a lot of reference to reason. There's a lot of reference to reflection, to contemplation. The Quran constantly tells us, think, process, feel. And that's how you find your way to the truth. قال لئن اتخذت إلها غيري لأجعلنك من المسجونين. قال لئن اتخذت إلها غيري لأجعلنك. I'm sorry guys, I'm tired. قال لئن اتخذت إلها غيري لأجعلنك من المسجونين. He said, if you take a god other than me, Pharaoh said, if you take any god other than me, I am God, nobody but God but me. Pharaoh said, if you take anybody God other than me, then I will make you from those who are imprisoned. Which, honestly, considering to what the threats that he makes down the line, imprisonment, not that bad. But yeah, obviously Pharaoh here is indicating that he believes that he is God. And this is no surprise to anyone if you've read history books or heard these stories before. So Moses responded, saying, قال أولو جئتك بشيء مبين. Moses said, even if I was to bring you something that is clear, if I was to show you something that can prove that I am the messenger, would you still imprison me? Is kind of, and I know how the story ends, but I don't know if Rumi knows how the story ends. I mean, you should, but we'll get to it anyway. So Pharaoh said, قال فأتي به إن كنت من الصادقين. Pharaoh said, okay, then bring it, if you are from the truthful. So Moses did one of the proofs. He showed the Pharaoh many things, but the main dialogue and discourse between Pharaoh comes down to this specific scene. So فألقى عصاه فإذا هي ثعبان مبين. So Moses threw his staff, and then behold, it was a serpent that was clear. And if you remember, this was at the same time when God was speaking to Moses by the burning bush. I don't know if it was through the burning bush or by the burning bush, but I know there was a burning bush and God was talking to him. And he told him about the staff, and he told him about his hand, put it in your pocket, and it comes out white, shining white. And we'll get to that in a second. So Moses did the same thing that he did by the burning bush. He threw his staff down, and it became a... Thu'ban is not just a snake, not just a serpent, but a cobra. I think. I may be misunderstanding. Yeah, Hayya is snake. Thu'ban is cobra. Just peculiar. I don't know why we know that. وَنَزَعَ يَدَهُ فَإِذَا هِيَ بَيْضَاءُ لِلنَّاظِرِينَ. And he drew out his hand, and behold, it is white for the observers. Now, I've heard many explanations of what the white hand means. Here, sometimes they add the word shining, as if it's a glowing hand and it was like radiant, and that kind of makes sense. I've heard another explanation that somehow when Moses was a child, he burnt his hand on a coal and it was damaged and like broken and had like scars on it. So when his hand became healed, that's what was obvious. I've heard another expression that he was dark skinned and that he worked in the sun so much so that his skin became quite dark, because being in the sun all the time, kind of the melanin in your skin activates, it becomes dark, and then thus it was white in comparison. We don't exactly know what, but we just know that there's significance to his hand being white, and that is one of the clear signs that Moses was talking about. قال للملأ حوله إن هذا لساحر عليم. So Pharaoh said to the chiefs around him, indeed, this guy is surely a magician that is quite learned. He's quite skilled. He's got a lot of, he's clearly done something, and he's showing us something wonderful. However, يريد أن يخرجكم من أرضكم بسحره فماذا تأمرون. He wants to drive you out from your land with his magic. So the Pharaoh asks his chiefs, so what do you advise? What do you propose? He's a skilled magician. He wants to kick you all out. So what's your answer? So they responded, قالوا أرجه وأخاه وابعث في المدائن حاشرين. They said, postpone him. Let him wait a little bit, and his brother, and then send in the cities the town criers, the gatherers. The town criers, back then, we didn't have news. We had people running to places and crying, hey, this is the news that's coming from people. So they're saying, send into the cities a bunch of people to spread the news. And what are they there to spread? يأتوك بكل ساحر يأتوك بكل سحار عليم. They'll bring to you every magician that is learned, every skilled magician. So essentially, go to the towns, ask all the people, bring the best magicians. Since Moses is claiming, they say that Moses is doing magic, let's go get the best magicians and compete against him. And here begins the showdown. فجمع السحرة لميقات يوم معلوم. So all the magicians were assembled for the appointment of a day that was well known. So the day was on. This is the day. All the magicians come to it. Let's see. The best magician is going to be rewarded. Well, they don't know that, but they're going to ask that soon. وَقِيلَ لِلنَّاسِ هَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُجْتَمِعُونَ. And the people, here we also see, it's not just Pharaoh versus Moses, magicians versus Moses. It's also, there was a crowd. There was a people. Everybody was like, this was an event. This was like everybody in the city came to see this event. And it was said to them, hey, are you all here? Are you all gathered? Are you all ready to witness this day? So it wasn't just a one-on-one. It was like a big event, you know? لعلنا نتبع السحرة إن كانوا هم الغالبين. So are you all here today so that we can watch the magicians succeed and prevail and beat Moses? فلما جاء السحرة قالوا لفرعون أئن لنا لأجرا إن كنا نحن الغالبين. So when the magicians came, they said to Pharaoh, is there for us a reward if we are the ones who are victorious? What are the stakes? Make it interesting for us, motivate us. So Pharaoh replied, قال نعم وإنكم إذن لمن المقربين. He said, yes, and indeed then you will be from the ones who are closest to me, from the holy. So if you're a part of the in crowd of the kings, the whatever, they'll take care of you. This is a very big statement to be said. قال لهم موسى ألقوا ما أنتم ملقون. So Moses said to them, use your magic, cast whatever you want to cast, throw whatever you're about to throw, cast whatever you're about to cast. Show me your magic. فألقوا حبالهم وعصيتهم I'll get there. I apologize. Like I said, I'm going to practice reading until I get better at this, so it's just going to be painful for a little while, but it's fine. فألقوا حبالهم وعصيهم وقالوا بعزة فرعون إنا لنحن الغالبون. Yeah, sure. So they threw their ropes and their staves, and they used to deal in a lot of magic back then, and they used to deal with, so they had ropes and staffs that they can also make it seem through illusion, through whatever. They might have also had magic, and I do believe that they had some form of connection to jinn or something or whatever, because magic does exist in the world, although it might be an illusion, it might be a trick, it might be real magic, but whatever they cast, it's not going to be God level. So, but they said with might to Pharaoh that, yeah, surely we're going to win. So they cast their spells. So look at us. We got snakes. We got this. We're going to win. Ha ha ha. And then فألقى موسى عصاه فإذا هي تلقف ما يأفكون. And then Moses threw his staff, and when it turned to a snake, then it was swallowing what they had falsified and had created. So his staff swallowed everything that they did. Like, it, not only did it look like a snake, it was A, moving, B, able to interact with theirs, C, swallowing everything that they had. And it was like, yeah. In gamer terms, we always say GG, which means good game. فَأُلْقِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سَاجِدِينَ. So the magicians threw themselves down and they prostrated and they bowed. قالوا آمنا برب العالمين. They said, we have believed in the Lord of the worlds. We now believe in the Lord of the worlds. Like, they recognized what he was doing wasn't magic. They recognized what he was doing was beyond everything they had ever understood, seen, or heard. They knew that this was what Moses was saying is true. Rabbi Musa wa Harun. We believe in the Lord of the worlds, the God of Moses and Aaron. And then Pharaoh got a little mad. قال آمنتم له قبل أن آذن لكم إنه لكبيركم الذي علمكم السحر فلسوف تعلمون لأقطعن أيديكم وأرجلكم من خلاف ولأصلبنكم أجمعين. Welcome back. No worries. So Pharaoh said, after the magicians had prostrated and bowed and declared Moses and Aaron's God the true God, he said, do you believe in him and do you believe in what he said before I gave you permission to believe in what he said? Essentially, the Pharaoh is saying, you belong to me. You're not allowed to believe until I say you believe, like the honcho that he is. And then Pharaoh thought, he's like, oh, I see what's happening. You guys are in it with him. He is surely your chief, and he taught you your magic, but surely you're going to know. You know what? I'm going to show you. I'm going to cut off your hands and your feet from the opposite sides, and I'm going to crucify you all. So this is why I said earlier when he said to Moses that I'm going to, imprison you, I'm like, that's not the worst thing that Pharaoh can do. This is pretty bad. But essentially, Pharaoh's like, how dare you believe in Moses and Aaron's God before I allow you to? And you know what? I'm a chop y'all up. But the magician said, قالوا لا ضير إنا إلى ربنا منقلبون. They said, you know what? That's no harm. You can do whatever you want to do to us. Indeed, we are to our Lord returning. And this is a sign of faith. It is a sign of people who believed that they were going to beat Moses, who didn't believe in what the guys were. And sometimes people just have to be given the right moment, the right evidence, the right perspective for them to believe. They might disbelieve their whole life, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then they accept. And when they accept, they're like, and they truly believe, they're like, you can't do anything to us. We know where we're going. We're going to heaven. Kill us. We know where we're going. We believe. Inna ila rabbina munqalibun. We are to our Lord returning. And there's a sign of peace, of surrender. And the word for peace and surrender specifically in Arabic is Islam, which is kind of nice. It's very beautiful. So you can see that they had felt this. It's very beautiful. It's very powerful. إنا نطمع أن يغفر لنا ربنا خطايانا أن كنا أول المؤمنين. Indeed, we hope that our God will forgive us our sins because we are the first to believe, which is not exactly true, but maybe in some ways it is kind of true. But either way, yeah. And that's why you can't count anyone out. You can't judge anybody who's believing or not believing. You can't judge anybody who's not believing because you never know what's going to be their road to Damascus moment, even though I don't like Paul of Tarsus, but that's fine. And that's it for today. We've reached the star. So, yeah, that's today's session. And I will, inshallah, continue tomorrow. I'm going to try and do it every day. I obviously didn't do it yesterday. Oh, yeah, yesterday was Isra wal Mi'raj. Yesterday was the night that the Prophet had ascended went to Masjid al-Aqsa from Masjid al-Haram. But we've already covered that in Al-Isra, chapter 17. Very interesting. But yeah, story time. Story time will continue tomorrow. And I love story time in the Quran because they're the most easiest to follow. Some of the other verses are a bit harder. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'm going to continue on Twitch, and I'm happy to talk to you from me if you're still here. But yeah, for everybody on YouTube, ma'a salama, and I'll see you guys, inshallah, tomorrow. We'll see. Bye.